So we have an interesting mix of panelists with us today evening, and a very exciting subject also for discussion. So I would like to put this question forward, the main question for the evening, to each of the panelists, and I'll repeat the question or the subject of discussion: shopping centers in 2030, the future of retail, and how the malls need to evolve in the coming retail environment. So I think Yogeshwar, you can start first and lead the discussion. You can answer that question.
I'm a shopping center professional, so I'm very positive that good shopping centers will come up. It may take a little longer time, but our learnings we have learned, we have made enough mistakes to learn from. There are enough examples how to succeed in the developed countries, in Dubai, very close by, then Singapore, KL, China. I know this question comes again that India cannot be compared to any other market. I completely agree, and I believe that India is unique, so the solution has to be unique. But one thing is for sure, that organized retail is bound to stay here for a very long time, and good malls, good shopping centers, good entertainment centers are required and will come up. Now, how many of them and how quickly is the question. And to set it right, I mean, I feel that the people who are here in this room, or who are in this industry on the panel, we are all responsible for what we are talking. So we have some of us have to take the lead and start doing it.
If you can pass the mic to Pranay, and he can also take that forward.
I've been part of this industry for the last 15 years in India, and every year it feels like the action has just started. I feel very positive, like him, that yes, it's still the early days of shopping centers in India. I think that the potential for shopping centers is huge all across the country. I think the learnings of the last 10 years and 15 years are actually being absorbed into the new centers that are coming up. I also see a very different typology of shopping centers in 2030, when the iPad touch generation becomes the core shopper. So I think we are in for some really radical and really positive changes, probably more than the change between 99 and 2014. 99 was when the first center opened in India, and we are 15 years down from there. So 15 years down from now, I think the degree of change is going to be far more radical than what we've witnessed in the last 15 years.
I started thinking about this weekend when I remembered, and I was looking at my schedule, and I had to come to this conference. And to be honest, I had no idea on how the malls would be in 2030. I had to take even a step back to ask myself whether I believe the malls would exist at all. But I believe they will. I believe they will exist. I made a post in Facebook and LinkedIn asking my friends how they would, what their opinion was. That was late at night on Sunday. And then surprisingly, by Monday morning, I had over nearly 100 replies, which make me think about the power of technology. So definitely technology will be there in 2030, mixed with retail, entertainment, a lot of things. And I believe that as human beings, we have the need to socialize. So malls will be a very important social enabler, places where people will meet, they will go for entertainment, for a movie, for dinner, and of course to shop. So retailers still will be there, but malls will be very different from what we see right now for sure.
Javier, I have to say, you got a little more time to think about it than I did, as I just jumped onto the panel a few minutes ago. But I am going to look at it more from an urban level, and I think if we need to future-proof ourselves, shopping centers as such, we need to really create community spaces and urban spaces, which I think, at least in India, our cities are really lacking in. And need to create destinations which people would relate to, would feel from their heart for, bring their families to, want to spend time on weekends for. And I completely agree. I think technology is going to play an integral role in how we integrate with these public places. But nothing can replace the emotional connect of sitting with a family around the table, going out for a meal, or meeting a friend over a cup of coffee. So these physical brick and mortar places, I think, are there's no way but to have community spaces. So I think I would like to look at it more at an urban level, not have integrated inward-looking complexes, more outward-looking, connected with the city, bringing communities together, making it more of a social platform to interact. I think those are probably more sustainable developments.
So, it's something very similar to what Komal suggested. The shopping centers of the future would be enabled with technology to make them more experiential, more immersive, and, probably the experience is something, a piece of that experience is something that people would take back home. So which is where the difference would start coming in, and I would tend to believe that the evolution process may be a little slower, but by 2030 you would be looking at shopping centers which will be far more immersive, far more experiential vis-a-vis what exists today, or the beginning has already been made.
I'll give a real life example. In the 1980s, when I went to the US and settled in New York, the place I was, we had that particular town, county of Westchester, had about 3 shopping malls. Now, what has happened between the 80s, the 90s to 2000? In the 2000s, by 2007, one of them was completely off the road, taken away, gone. The second one was changed, converted into more of a commercial space, offices. And one of them went ahead and refitted itself, reinvented itself. But beside this, they also started another one, which was the 4th mall there, which was made in the 2000s, and which kind of more reciprocated and was more in tune with the time. So what I think is that's what's going to probably happen in India as well. Some of the malls who haven't changed, the structures are beyond reinvention completely. They will die down or change to other mixed use, whether it's using it for hospitality or service apartments or offices. And the ones which are being built now, and if they keep that into consideration, that they can make some changes, those would stay, and then a few, will definitely be, they'll continue to prosper. One thing I'm very sure of, by 1930, if we are saying shopping mall business, it'll be more in terms of entertainment and food. It's not as inclined towards shopping. I think it'll be more being entertained, meeting friends, enjoying dinners, watching movies, amusement. I think it'll be driven by that. That's my take on it.
We all know it's very difficult to actually predict what is going to be another 30 years from now. But in my opinion, for sure, shopping centers are going to be the catalyst in terms of what the unorganized retail today, which has a larger pie in percentage, where the organized retail will take over that, where the shopping centers are going to be the major catalyst in this journey. That's number one. On a very macro statistics level, The second thing is when from a point of looking at the product evolvement of what the shopping centers are today and what it is going to be, say, down the line, 15 years, 20 years, or 30 years, it will have a substantial change. And in my opinion, every 7 years, there will be an evolvement of these products. Like what Dheeraj said, that probably shopping centers will not be typically shopping. It will have a lot of other element of community engagement, social engagement. It could be in the lines of having music, having art, having banqueting kind of a setup in the shopping center, having convention center. So definitely, for sure, definitely it will have a lot of evolvements. And every 7 years, you can see visibly the industry is going to change on this aspect. Having said that, obviously there will be a lot of challenges, how the industry leaders are going to pursue on these challenges, and how the government scenario is going to help, how the market is going to help. So these are the changes. Overall, I would say that today, with my little knowledge, I would say the average trading density of today all the shopping centers should be not less than, is not more than 1,000 or 900 square feet per square feet. For sure, and by 25 years now, with the consumption increase, and this level will go up to 1,800 to 2,000 is what is in my opinion.
Completely agree with Pranay when he says that it looks exciting. 2030 for sure looks exciting, but since it's difficult to predict what will happen 15 years down the line, 15 years, 0 to 500 malls, 600 malls, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so, and I think we should be able to add another 500-600 malls in the next 15 years. The differentiator which, or something which we need to look at by 2030 is that the malls need to engage the customers, and it is not really only shopping. There are a lot of other drivers which will continue, or which will have to be created to engage the customer. Like Shashi just said, that we have to look at art, theater, community. It has to be a community place at the end of the day, because shopping today I can go online and shop as well, sitting in the comfort of my home. But we'll have to engage our customer and look at how a shopping center can bring in all these aspects by 2030.
Thanks a lot for your answers. It's very it's good to have a panel with a lot of different specialities, professionals from different fields. I do agree that entertainment, food, the experience, the having public space almost like an anchor will be something for the future, at least in the crystal ball that I look into. But I also think that still it needs to be shopping that drives footfall. And on the fashion side, the fashion segment, how do you see the development there of the brands? Will people be as loyal as they are today, 2030? And how do you think the fashion brands need to evolve to both compete with e-commerce, but also to still provide inspiration and the desire to shop?
We have a mix of customers who are loyal and who are not loyal. In spite of being loyal customers, they will still hunt for or look for options outside our brands. The not so loyal customers will typically look at deals, offers, deals, convenience. Today, our customers buy online, our products online. They buy them offline. They can purchase our products through the phone, through an application. So the mindset is changing. 20 years back, I did not have too many options. I would have typically one store in the city where the entire family would be shopping. Times are changing. Malls came up. People started going to malls. Got options. Got brands, different brands. And then now we're going online. So our customer is changing. Their mindset is changing. As I said previously as well, that it is how we continue to engage with them, whether it's in store, whether it's online, whether it's to social. That's something which we need to look at seriously, and we have started looking at it very, very seriously. Our social media drives a lot of business to our stores, and likewise online business as well.
Yeah, because I think especially for the future, it's not about giving the customer what they want, but it's for us telling them actually what they want. Us to surprise them and over exceeding their expectation and getting them into things that they didn't even know that they wanted. Okay, thanks.
So Javier, to you, and also to you, Pramod. Both of you are stalwarts of the entertainment business, and I think almost all the panelists have mentioned that entertainment is going to play a very big role going forward. It is already playing an important role in shopping center and also the element of socializing, if you will. So Javier, what do you feel will be the role of entertainment? How big will it get? How different will it get? And how much more important can it be in 2030? And also within the sphere or under the umbrella of shopping centers.
Well, I think that entertainment will keep on taking more and more space on the malls. This doesn't mean that retailers will be less, but probably the retail space for each retailer will be less. The unitary space for each retailer could be lesser in the future, and entertainment will become more so important than what it is now. The offerings will be, variety of entertainment will still be there, with obviously cinemas, if I could include food court in that. I mean, food, any other kind of entertainment, like bowling, ice skating. Now we've seen now surfing, kind of skateboarding, mini golf, go-kart tracks, you name it. I guess it's on these people's mind and dreams, whatever they can offer their customers, what they need, right? Or bring or seed that need on the customers. But yes, I do foresee that the portion of entertainment in malls will be taking more space than what they have now.
So more categories in entertainment, much more to do, more space. Pramod, your views?
Yeah, Javier has really summed it well. Predominantly, the shift would be that there would be larger spaces which would go on getting towards entertainment and food and beverage. So if you look at a typical mall today, it represents the 4 Fs, the fun, food, fashion, films. So the films and the food part today is approximately like 20 to 25% of mall. That could really move up to maybe 40%, 45%. And that potential shift which happens to be actually the irrigator to the mall, that potential shift is going to represent the shopping centers of the future.
I'd like to add something here. In entertainment, when I said entertainment, we, beside the normal amusement things that we have, movies and plays. What I'm also foreseeing is also the normal retailers. When we get into a shopping mall and you get into a store, the fact that I'm looking at people, the salespeople there, in a way, trying to not just engage, also entertain you. Okay? Because if you were to shop by then, I think it'll be easy for you to shop online, which is getting more and more prevalent. I think at that point, what will drive people to the malls will be the fact if they have that delight factor. Okay, if they feel happy shopping there, which means most retailers will have to train their front end salespeople to be smiling, to be nice, to be almost entertaining the customers as and when they come in. I think that would play an important role, and I think the most important part would be also 100% customer service oriented. Every retailer and as well as the mall developer, they will have to have zero complaints. I mean, the ones which will have problems, complaints, going to be out of the game. So I think customer service at that point, and fun is what will probably drive.
Just add to some of the point. Currently what we have seen is it's more of a reactive kind of approach where we design a mall predominantly from a point of apparel and the other categories, but not necessarily on the entertainment as a category. So we just happen to sell the box and lease the box and then try and work it out. But I think now the industry has realized that those days are gone, where the percentage of food and entertainment, which is right now somewhere about 16, 18, 20, depending upon mall to mall, but I guess more or less it's only within 18 or 20. But I'm sure now, I think down the few years from now, you will see a substantial percentage increase of this entertainment and food as put together to about 35% in my opinion, which you can take multiplex also as part of that. Now, having said that, it is only now when the malls get planned, you plan for a multiplex, how a multiplex has to go. That's what we are now. But I think going forward, people will also look at, okay, if I have to get 30-40% of entertainment component into the mall, if that is going to be a very critical category to drive the mall's larger performance and larger viability in long run, short run, then what are the different formats? What are the key differential formats? It could be as simple as a huge aquarium coming inside a mall. So one needs to design in much ahead, even before the construction starts. Or look at a format like Kidzania, which is more of an entertainment format. And they don't come with a 5,000 or 10,000, they come with a huge thing. So one is more of I think it is more of a policy, philosophical kind of a decision to start with. And then once there is a clarity on that angle, and then one will work backward towards how to get it accommodated in terms of getting the required design being done, and then go forward towards leasing, and then really having such format, and then fulfilling the entire offering and to the customers. I think this is what I see that going forward you will have the malls adopting themselves on a serious approach towards accommodating this entertainment format, in my opinion.
Can I continue and ask you a question? And as a mall developer, because there's no secret that entertainment is not paying the highest rents. So how is this then going to change the future of feasibility of a shopping center? How do we compensate if public spaces takes up more art, entertainment? If that changes the tenant mix of a shopping center, what do we need to add to balance and offset this?
If I've understood your question properly, I think whoever is the mall developer has to come forward towards looking at a differential. It can't be, to start with, it can't be seen as real-time rent generation, rent revenue generation. It has to be on an equitable basis to have a breakthrough aspect. So initially it is the participation of the developer and the operator in whatever win-win basis, and I think only by that we can have these changes. Other than that, I don't think so. There will be a huge challenge, because just as an operator or the developer alone can't do this because developer doesn't come from that background of domain operation, and they have to accommodate the operator in a manner which is that particular business model can survive and not just survive, thrive, and actually fulfill that long-term aspect. So to put it in a nutshell, I think the developer has to come forward with that thought process of on a joint equity basis. Then I see such possibility happening.
I think there won't be a choice left for developers but to accommodate what is popular demand. They will need to forecast the popular demand, or they'll need to, because whatever they design today is going to get operational 4 years, 5 years down the line. So if you take the stabilization period out, that's 5 years, 60 months away. In any case, they need to do forecasting, even if it is today or if it was 5 years ago. They had to do forecasting as to what's going to be current 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. How do you future-proof your center? How do you fight against the unborn competition, which is going to come up after you've finished all your work and learn from your mistakes and do something bigger, better, and offer a rent-free 2 years to all your tenants? So these are challenges which for the last 30, 40 years the rest of the world has faced, and India, I would say, has actually done quite a good job in facing these challenges even in the last 5, 10 years. So public space being an anchor was something that was done when City Walk was being built. It was the only center of 500,000 square feet in 2004 which was being done without a department store or a hypermarket, which were two staples taken as a given that without these two things, no shopping center can work. But it converted the parking lot into a landscape area after fighting much with the government. It showed that as an anchor. This is the reason why people are going to come here. And if a shopping center is able to get the traffic, relevant traffic of course, then economic viability is a given, or economic success is a given. And I think the centers which come up now will come up with that learning, with a lot more learning. And as Yogesh was mentioning in the beginning, there's also so much of learning for us from the neighboring countries which have a lot of cultural similarity to India. So whether it's Southeast Asia or whether it's the Middle East, there's a lot of cultural similarity. So while earlier the US model or the Europe model was kind of written off that no, you can't actually do a cut, copy, paste. But both of these regions have emulated, learned from, and improved upon the Western models and localized the Western model. And I think India will have that advantage to learn from.
I just wanted to add here, in current scenario with current assumptions, this hypothesis, the break-even will shift by 2 years for sure, because what we see, entertainment pays little lesser than other categories as a rent. So it will be again pressure on developer, and the break-even will shift by another 2 years for sure.
Like 2 years earlier or 2 years later?
2 years later for sure.
Good. Kamal, to you. Benoy has got several years of experience in designing and developing shopping centers, and that's history, and you've built a lot of iconic shopping centers. How do you see this actually moving forward by 2030? How will the development and design scenario change? How will it be viewed? What is it that you would look at delivering to the consumer, and how will it be good for the environment? What are those practices from a sustainability point of view that you would like to look at achieving?
Yes, I think there's a question that Olafson asked earlier. What sort of practices were employed earlier when you were designing shopping centers, and what has changed now, and what do you think will happen in the future? I think shopping centers 5 years ago were still more inward looking. There is definitely a growing interest in, as he mentioned, dining and entertainment. I think developers and the consumers are looking for a bigger F&B and a bigger dining experience. And I think better customer service is going to be the key differentiator as well. Where, if it's your restaurant saying, we will book your cab for you or give you valet service or personalized sort of services. So I think those are trends that are, going to help future-proof your development. Going beyond that, and as I mentioned earlier, making your center a destination, making it not just a shopping space, but a place where families would come, sit around, and want to spend the day, so that they could attach their heart to that place and bring their families back together. I think so. Creating urban places as such is probably the way I would see it as future-proofing.
Okay, good. So I think we're all in agreement. Entertainment, public spaces, restaurants, those food and beverage, those are the things. I would like to add and strengthen also. I think experience is going to be extremely important, and whatever else we provide has to be an experience, be it a fashion tenant or whatever it will be. It has to be a real experience so that we can compete with, for example, e-commerce. But what do you see being reduced today? What type of categories? Please feel free, anyone, to jump in. But what do you feel that, okay, this will be something that is being phased out or at least reduced?
I wouldn't talk about categories, but for sure space for inventory will get reduced. So I guess the shops and retailers will be using lesser and lesser space for stocking goods.
Okay, good. Anything else? Yep.
I believe that fitness will go up. Fitness, spa, salon, beauty, cafes, these will go up for sure.
Yeah.
And reduction for sure is the books and the music. I mean, we already see that people are buying. It's a standard product. Books are being bought online, and similarly, music is downloaded on. So I feel that these two categories, and the next to go is not the fashion category, but the need-based, like white shirts. I mean, people will start buying white shirts online. So within the apparel category, the non-fast-moving apparel fashion will go online.
Okay. Anyone else?
Neeraj, you want to say something?
Yeah, you're talking about online, and see what's going to happen is that the standardized goods. When I say standardized goods, I'm talking about, like, for example, electronics, televisions, and whatever technology that we're selling now. All of those things are the ones which will go online immediately. Okay, that's because you don't have to go to the store. Okay, you can just surf the net, find the best price of the model that you want. It's that simple. So standardized products will go online. In terms of fashion, unless there is penetration in fashion. When I say penetration, I mean, if, for example, if it's men's suits, we are way behind if I was looking at penetration. So if you go to a good store in the West where they sell only men's suits, in various sizes, let's say, for example, a 40, you'll have a 40 long, short, portly, the penetration in terms of the substance itself, the category itself, is much deeper. So when it comes to that, it'll change. So it could be that you cannot replicate on the net. So standardized goods, just like right now, I think the travel industry probably has been the biggest in terms of internet has taken. So I think electronics is going to be the next thing, which will totally you wouldn't see that in stores no more.
A lot is being spoken about the e-commerce replacing the physical malls, as you just suggested. So one of the examples that comes to the mind is the Apple stores, which is a very standard product. It's a laptop, or it's basically an iPad, which is going to be a very, very standard product. And the Apple stores do a phenomenal business, and they've been set up as retail centers of excellence in many of the countries today. So it's all about experience. Somewhere, what we are tending to forget is that retail has to be connected to an overall experience for people to come down, touch it, feel it, and be more immersed into the medium. Otherwise, the Apple stores should have been a drop-dead situation day one they were created. So somewhere, the moment we basically connect experience to retail, shopping centers would always remain successful. So the new avatar of shopping centers would definitely have this experiential, the experiential side of it connected to it for them to become more successful. Another example that comes to the mind is Abercrombie and Fitch. You get into an Abercrombie and Fitch store today, it's not about buying an apparel out there, which is still a standard apparel, but it's about the teams getting themselves uppicked with the models who are servicing you there. So it's all about an experience getting into an Abercrombie store today. So somewhere, it's basically going to be connecting to the consumers that you're servicing by virtue of an experience that you provide, which will be unparalleled, which you cannot get onto the net, is where, the differences would start coming in, and the shopping centers, would probably be the next evolution.
Super. I think the e-commerce point is so relevant today, and still we are saying in 2030 that e-commerce, brick and mortar, retail format industry running, and the way forward, as the panelists, I think most of them are saying, is that is a hybrid format that is going to evolve on the e-commerce side. So while there will be competition, but there will also be customers to the shopping center business. So I think that's a good sign. That's how two businesses or two competing businesses can complement each other and move forward. And I think we've already seen that today shaping up. So that's one point of view. But when we talk about e-commerce, we talk about technology. We've talked about how we are going to create public spaces. But how is infrastructure going to shape up? How do we feel that infrastructure is going to be 15, 16 years from now, knowing where it stands today and dreaming of what is going to be in 2030, but still remaining practical to ensure that the capital that you're investing in the business is justified and delivers the returns that you're expecting to deliver. So I'll start with you, Dheeraj, if you can throw some light on that.
Infrastructure, as it comes to, in our country here in India, because most of the infrastructure is still government driven, and that is, I don't know how things will change going forward. Okay, I hope they do, because I think that's the basic form. When we look at the roads, if the roads are bad, if there's not enough space, not enough lanes, you cannot get to that shopping mall. Okay, so I think that part of it will certainly be a deterrent for shopping malls, especially inner city shopping malls. Yeah, things will change. I would say two ways. One, the developers who are doing standalone shopping malls, in other words, they're not developing the entire infrastructure around it. They would also have to look at infrastructure only when it comes to, getting in and out, and of course, what kind of parking that they can provide. I think parking is going to play a large part in, how it's going to evolve over time, because everybody now, with the amount of prices that we have in cars and the way they're going down with Nano, how it happened, more and more people are going to be able to afford cars, but then where they're going to park? I mean, if for 1,000 square feet of space, you should have a minimum of about 4 parking spaces. I don't think in India we have even 3 probably. So I think that's going to be, when I say infrastructure, that's going to be very, very important. But the developers who are doing entire townships, okay, they have a better chance of, putting the infrastructure in place if they're doing the entire, when I say entire townships, like, 500 acres, 1,000 acres townships, because they have then the capacity to build the roads leading to the mall. Okay, they have the capacity to light the roads. They have the capacity to, provide electricity and the power generation. So I think those things will also matter. Standalone always would be a challenge.
I have a slightly different view on this. There are 4 or 5 massive changes that are happening as we speak, which are going to change our lives within the next 5 years. We're talking 15 years, 5 years. The driverless car has already driven 3,500 to 4,000 miles in the US without any episode, any event, any accident. 15 years of economic growth, which now no government can stop. No matter who comes, nobody can stop. 15 years of economic growth is going to warrant malls which are larger. I don't see e-commerce shrinking any category. I see it as widening our categories. Digital printing, for instance, we have no idea right now. 3D printing, sorry, not digital printing. Thank you. So 3D printing, driverless cars, the drive which is there all across the country, the stress towards public infrastructure, public transport. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, one city had a metro. Today, 5 cities are building metros as we speak. 15 years' time, there'll probably be 30 cities with the metro. Metro is going to make a massive difference. We might have a reduction of car park requirement in shopping centers instead of a doubling or a trebling. Energy. There are massive changes happening on the energy front, which might make carbon fuels totally redundant in 15 years' time. We may not need petrol pumps in 15 years' time. I think these are going to make us see a very different animal and phenomenally good infrastructure in the next 15 years' time. One CWG Games has transformed the way Delhi works.
I think that's
Absolutely.
fantastically put.
Absolutely, because infrastructure it's an irreversible process. Ab ki baar kisi ki bhi sarkar, infrastructure is still going to grow. So, this infrastructure is definitely going to give a very, very strong impetus to more shopping centers coming up. And as Pranay rightly summed it up, whatever is happening on the energy conservation, whatever is happening onto the metro side that is connecting the cities, the mass rapid transport is taking place. So you may actually see a reduction in parking spaces required to service a mall.
Javier, you want to make a point?
You might have heard, before you jump in there, you might have heard the expression that a good, a judgment of a healthy economy is in a country where the rich rides the public transport. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, Anna. Yeah.
I totally agree. But I believe there are two different things we're discussing here. One is the infrastructure, which I believe in India, infrastructure is always catching up that growth. And it hasn't matched it yet. And I don't believe that it will do that in the short term. Right? I mean, the economy is growing faster than what the infrastructure can catch up. Now, talking about technology, totally agree that technology will impact our lives in the short term. This 3D printing is something that will change not only our lives, but retailers' way of doing things, the ability to customize your own product, to work with no inventories, again, and print your trousers, print your shoes, biometrics also will change our lives. And there's one thing that it's already changing our life with a huge penetration, which is mobile. Even for a country like as big as India, mobile penetration is huge. And this has changed our lives big time. If we combine all these technologies, mobile with e-commerce, which would be m-commerce, with biometrics, with the banking system, with micro localization devices. Right now, any of our smartphones would know that exactly where this latitude and longitude, but they don't know that we're sitting on a conference room. Micro localization devices will enable retailers to know how many people are there at their shop at any given point of time. And they can communicate with them specific messages. So in that sense, yes, technology, I believe that will change our lives in the short term. And infrastructure definitely has to grow faster and keep on growing in order to catch up the economy's growth.
I'd like to ask one question from Sumit. it's about fashion. You're from the fashion industry, one of the most compelling brands, international brands that we have in the country. You know, historically, shopping centers or the shopping center business has had a longer life than a particular brand, fashion brand. So it's a fashion brand is seen to be reinventing itself faster and more faster than a shopping center has to. Where do you see and how do you see, you know, the fashion brand, you know, reinventing itself in this life cycle to reach the milestone of 2030 in our country?
I think we need to be relevant to the customer at all times, whether it's 2014 or 2030. We being in the fast fashion, we anyways evolve very quickly. Our trends change much faster than a regular apparel brand. So we have to continue to be relevant to the customer, whether it's a metro city or a tier 2 city or a tier 3 city, in terms of product, in terms of pricing, in terms of the offering.
When you say relevant, I mean, some brands are irrelevant and they're greatly successful. So you think relevance will be more in or irrelevance will be more in 2030?
That depends whose opinion is that.
You know, we've been talking for a long time about the tier 2 and tier 3 story in India. And in the middle, you know, everybody was very, very gung-ho on the tier 2 city story in India, and there were some accidents in the middle, and I think that story is reviving today in some ways. Where do you see tier 2 and tier 3 cities standing? Pranay, if you can address that. Specifically in terms of a socio-economic change to be able to live and to be able to access and thrive in the shopping center that we are planning to build in 2030.
Actually, if you ask me, we are a lot more excited about the tier 2, 3, 4 cities than we are about tier 1. We've seen all of these tiers very closely now, and I think if one is looking at 2030, then again going back to the kind of changes in technology that are happening today, there's a person in Siliguri who's studying in Massachusetts University, MIT. He's taking online classes. He'll get a proper degree. So again, in 2030, it's going to be you'll probably have to justify why you ever went to college. Like, what was the need to go to college? That in India is going to cause a massive explosion of human resources, of skills, and therefore of the earning potential, which is currently sitting locked in all the tier 2, 3, 4 cities. So I would say that there would be, I disagree with the number of 500. I mean, I have a different take on that 500, 200, 300 number of shopping centers. We feel that there are over 3,000 cities outside of the Delhis and Bombays and the sort of cities which have an airport. These 3,000 cities are going to be ready for popular neighborhood centers. Some of these will be able to carry more than one, or will have people stepping over each other and building more than one. So that alone gives you a good 3,000 to 5,000 new shopping centers beyond what we have today. The employment opportunities getting created. If one looks at the boost which is kind of on the anvil for manufacturing, for agriculture, for all of these core sectors. In the last decade, we've seen significant growth only in the services sector. When the core sectors get hit by positive change, that is going to create another massive spread of demand for consumption all across the country. So maybe the malls that we see today in Delhi and Bombay, barring a few, will all start looking dated and redundant, and Delhi, Bombay, etc. will be ready for the Dubai malls and the Mall of Americas. And all of these, the kind of mall that we see in the Delhis and Bombays today, maybe the smaller scale ones, 2.5 lakh square feet, 3 lakh square feet, the one which is cinema, food court, and some retail. We might see 3,000 to 5,000 of those as an opportunity across the country.
Great. And Pramod, what are your views in the entertainment side? How do you think content will change from now or become relevant? Do you think the indie film culture, the multiplex film culture is going to spread across as rapidly as it has in the metros to the non-metros to the tier 3 cities?
So,
And or do you think that will become a separate market altogether?
So apparently, this culture has already spread. So we have, a multiplex is no different than a cinema. It is just that the avatar has changed, wherein, we have cut them down into smaller screens. And cinema has been relevant for the last 100 years and would possibly remain relevant maybe for the next 100 years too. Because it's an out-of-home entertainment format wherein people are socially, interacting with each other, sort of a thing. So somewhere, we do find that actually we don't really see a barrier in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, how the classification goes. For us, what is important is if there are economic drivers in that town or city, they're definitely going to grow, and that is what is going to bring us that consumer who's looking forward to getting himself entertained. So, and somewhere if you look at it, we are already talking about the unorganized retail sector getting organized. So today, even the smaller villages have this unorganized retail. It's just got to be put into a shopping plaza or a shopping center for it to become organized and, thrive out there and make a cinema also out there as well.
15, 20 years ago, there was one Benetton store in the country. So the other day I asked Sanjeev, where's the most remote place in the country where you have a Benetton store? So he said, I obviously haven't been there, but there's a place called Dispur. And so I asked him which state is it in? He said it's in Arunachal Pradesh. How do you get there? He said, I have no idea.
Dispur is still basically, I believe it's the capital of Arunachal Pradesh. We have cinemas in Latur. We have cinemas in, for many of us out here, people may not have really even heard of those names, and they're doing phenomenally well because it's actually the need which is, as good as a metropole. If a person wants to watch a movie in Delhi or a Bombay, so does he want to watch it in Latur. So, when you talk about these numbers of 400, 500, they seem irrelevant to me, as Pranay rightly said it. These numbers would be in thousands. It's just about, getting all the people under one roof and giving them an option which is a superior option to what exists today.
Just to put things into perspective about the Indian appetite for movies, which I totally agree with Pramod. It's not secret for anyone that India is the country which sells the highest number of tickets in the world. Okay? But there's a population of 1.2 billion, so there's a catch there. However, what not that many people know is that India is the second largest consumer of cinema on a per capita basis. Per capita.
That's right.
Right? So I agree that multiplexes, how much they could pay for a ticket, that's a different story. Yeah? That's the multiplexes and charges a higher price because the average ticket price in India is 40 rupees for those 4 billion tickets they sell. Because most of the tickets, number of tickets, are sold in single screens in all those places. But the appetite for a good story on a screen is there in the Indian soul.
So there are fantastic opportunities and growth potential as we can hear. And this discussion can of course go on forever, especially on a speculative basis of what's going to happen in the future. But there are planes to catch, etc. So I think we do need to leave some time for questions on the floor as well. Before we wrap up, I would like each member to give a sharp takeaway of just one sentence or two of how they think shopping centers will develop and what will be the key things 2030 for a shopping mall. And while I give our panelists a short minute to think here, I will just give one quick reflection of my own as well. Flying in to Mumbai for this conference, basically just being here 24 hours. And we talked a lot about the customer today and tomorrow, the visitor of our shopping centers. And I think we've heard several times that our average visitor here is not much different from any other customer, which is the majority is female and around 35 years. And my reflection is looking in this room that the majority of the people in the shopping industry in India are male. and older than 34, 35 years old. So this is my reflection, and it's an open-ended question, and it's like, yeah, if we want to open 3,000, 5,000 more shopping malls, and we want to be relevant, then maybe this is a point of focus for our developers as well. A bit of gender balance and understanding the customer. Okay, should we go around the table for a quick takeaway?
For me, 2030 shopping centers will be more of a community center where we constantly engage with our customers going forward.
From a larger customer angle, yes, it will be a customer engagement would be the most epicenter of any shopping center planning and later operations. But I guess, like some of the audience mentioned here, I think even 5 years down the line, the importance of safety will also be one integral aspect of shopping center, in my opinion, where right from the not just the customer experience but also the customer safety.
I'll say it in 3 words. It will be entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. That's my guess.
More experiential and more immersive.
I will be a little longer than them. I'd like to cite an example here. Like Sony, as a company, came out with Walkman. It was very relevant, very good product, very relevant, and I mean, it was invention, and they made their business plans. But suddenly the iPod came in, and the Walkman became irrelevant. So, where we are today, what we are looking at with this hypothesis, with little assumptions, what we have, we can foresee now. Shopping will continue to happen. Channels will change. Shopping centers will stay or not. I am a strong believer in human warmth. Human warmth cannot be replaced. You can't kiss your child online. I mean, very difficult. You can't have that. So experience, human warmth cannot be replaced, and shopping centers are going to stay. Some categories will come, some categories will go. People will come together, they will meet, they will celebrate, and this will remain till the time last 2 human beings are on this earth.
I think the shopping center business is going to, something that we didn't cover today was the impact of women. And you mentioned that more men are shopping and they're 45 years old and things like that. I think that has changed, or that the change in that has now gotten registered or recognized. The perception had also started partly because the early fashion retailers in the country were mainly menswear brands, and that dominated and populated the malls very fast and very visibly. But I think I can see a transformation happening in the Indian woman today, more economic empowerment, more cause and furor about their safety, their security and things like that. I think gender sensitivity is something which is only now settling into India or getting into India. That is going to make a big positive impact on shopping centers. But I think shopping centers need a lot more women in the business of shopping centers in order to be able to make this whole business work and grow.
I believe that malls will keep on existing as places to socialize, to meet people, with high component of entertainment, and where technology will play a very important part. However, after all this speculation from all of us, I believe that the good news is that in 2030, no one will remember what we said. So there's no issue on speculating, and let the imagination go. Thank you.
I also can't say what's going to happen in 2030, but all I say is that human beings will remain social, and I think we need to stay close to nature. So I would say create memorable public spaces.
Great. Thank you. I'm happy that no one says that there will be no shopping center 2030. Everyone agrees on that, so it's a good one. Yeah, exactly. We all want jobs. Okay, shall we leave some questions for the floor to our panelists?
Hi, my name is Abhishek and I'm from Moment Mall, Delhi. As we are talking about 2030 malls, but I'm not finding any space to build those malls in metro cities. Where do we get space to build those big malls?
Have you heard that India is a land of land?
Yes.
So wherever you see a building, imagine putting 5 of them together and replacing it with a mall. If you don't see the land, that is.
But also to add to what Pranay is saying, that the boundaries of the cities are getting expanded. So, there's a huge decentralization process that is taking place across the country, which is in itself providing these opportunities and, of course, land along with that.
Any more questions, please?
Hi, I'm Vishal from DVCT Bhopal. My question is to Sumit. Are you not complaining to e-commerce and m-commerce that they have not been able to sell your products online as compared to other categories like electronics and other products have been? Because they have not been able to create a feel and...
Sorry, I didn't get your question, the first part of the question.
My question is, don't complain to e-commerce or m-commerce sites that they have not been able to create a feel and touch for your for the apparels or the fashion, as compared to other categories like electronics and other standardized products?
See, we entered e-commerce through all these websites or portals only about 6 months back, in a very serious manner. And the growth, what we see in the last 6 months has been phenomenal, in spite of the touch and feel factor not being there. Majority of our business comes from tier 2, tier 3 cities on these portals, from these portals. So this segment will certainly grow phenomenally, and it will run parallel to our brick and mortar stores. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it partly answers to my question. My another question on this is, are brands not killing themselves or killing their shops, brick and mortar shops, by offering them online at a discounted price?
Not really, because not all products which are sold online are on discount. And as far as killing the brand ourselves, it's not true, because as I said that majority of our business currently comes from places where we are not there physically. So we are penetrating into a market through online business rather than being in a brick and mortar store.
I want to add something to it. See, online business, you cannot have bestseller stores in every town, every city, every village of India, okay? So there are parts, remote parts, okay, smaller towns which might not have brick and mortar stores, but people might have aspirations. The internet is there, they are used to the brands, they've seen the brands, they might not be able to go ahead and buy it, okay? So that gives them the chance to go ahead and order that online. So I think the two parallel things and go together in synonymous.
I think that's it. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much to the panelists for an engaging and enriching discussion. Thank you, Christian, for being a part of this discussion as well.
Thank you.